The Gwinnett County Medical Examiner took custody of those remains, and they were positively identified as having belonged to Susana Morales. The following morning, February 7th, we brought out a large contingency of police personnel and conducted a methodical and meticulous search known as a grid search. And during that search, we located a firearm that had been reported stolen on July 27th. This is the same day that Susana was reported missing. That firearm we traced back to a 22-year-old former Dorville police officer named Miles Bryant. Bryant then became a person of interest in our case. We continued investigating, and on February 13th, we secured warrants for concealing the death of another. Since that time, our criminal investigators have been working this case continuously, and we have reached the threshold to where these charges have now been upgraded to felony murder and kidnapping charges. I would like to thank the Gwinnett County District Attorney's Office for their assistance, along with the Dorville Police Department. And at this time, I'll take any questions that you may have.
Is it possible that Ms. Morales was raped? There was mention of that earlier.
There is a possibility, and one of the things I really want to do now is talk about the timeline, okay? Recall my earlier statement. Susana went missing sometime between 10 and 10:30 p.m. on July 26th. Our investigation has revealed that she died, we believe, sometime between the time she was taken, between 10 and 10:30 and 2 a.m. on the morning of the 27th. You'll recall she was reported missing on the morning of July 27th at 9 a.m. So by the time she was reported missing, we have every reason to believe that Susana was deceased.
Can you talk about the possible relationship between Morales and Bryant? Have you been able to make any sort of connection? Did they know each other? Was he the person who approached, or you said that there was an individual? Just talk about
Correct.
What relationship, if any.
Right. So again, we know that Susana visited her friend at Sterling Glen apartment complex where Bryant served as the courtesy officer. We have looked at the idea or if there was some type of knowledge or relationship, but so far we have not made that connection. So we do not know if she knew or was familiar with Bryant in any capacity.
So are there any video cameras there? Are there any video cameras at that apartment?
Not that I'm aware of.
Was Susana shot?
We have no information to indicate that she was shot.
So how did she die?
We don't definitively know. We're still investigating. What we do know is that she died at the hands of Miles Bryant.
Did you say she was reported missing on the 27th?
That's correct.
And at that time, the police department knew that she was dead? That's what you said?
No. Susana was reported missing at 9 a.m. on the 27th. Her parents had looked for her throughout the prior evening, however, she was reported missing at 9 a.m. What we've learned throughout the course of our investigation is that she likely died between 10 p.m. And 3 a.m. on the 27th.
Those kidnapping and murder charges, those are in addition to the concealing of death and the false report?
That's correct.
You spoke about the timeline. Can you talk about anything as far as with her cell phone or anything like that that led you to this timeline?
So I won't go into the details of what we have learned with respect to the investigation because it's still active. However, we do have evidence that we've uncovered from several sources, electronically and things of that nature.
When you say she came into contact with an individual between 10 and 10:30, are you saying that individual is Miles Bryant?
Yes, I am saying Miles Bryant.
Did
And
anyone?
you're saying Bryant, she went to visit a friend at the place where Bryant lived?
Correct.
Did anyone see the two of them together?
We have no information that those two were saw together. Again, using our investigative skills, we placed the two of them together.
Is there any evidence that Miles Bryant used his capacity as a police officer to possibly commit this crime?
That we don't know, but we are still investigating that angle.
There's been some reports that there was another woman who had some issues with Bryant. Do you guys believe there are additional victims that either may have been killed by him or may have had some other kind of harmful interaction with him?
So to be clear, we have no information at this time linking Miles Bryant to have harmed someone in a similar fashion. What we do know is that in 2018, Miles Bryant lived next door to a neighbor. We know that 2018, he went to this neighbor's house and allegedly tried to enter the house through a window. The police were called. We conducted an on-scene investigation. Miles Bryant countered that argument or that allegation. The homeowner in that case did not wish to prosecute, and so that case ultimately was resolved. There is a 2022 case, December of 2022, in which Miles Bryant visited the home of an acquaintance. We believe that he may have tried to enter a residence, and we're conducting an investigation on that case. We do believe that warrants are forthcoming.
Those 2018 and 22 cases, were they the same apartment complex where he lived?
No, they were not.
The one in 18.
I'm sorry, go ahead, ma'am.
We received a press release on the 31st asking for, or pretty much offering a reward for any information on Morales. What kind of sparked that press release that she had been missing since July 27? Why did that press release just randomly get sent out?
Right. I wouldn't necessarily call it random. Throughout the course of our investigations, issuing lookouts and bulletins are standard fare within our investigations. So it certainly wasn't random. There wasn't anything in particular that sparked that release. Again, we're always looking for information from the public to aid us in our cases.
The Hispanic United Alliance has been very critical of you all, saying you don't take crimes against Hispanics seriously. What do you say to that?
First, I take exception to that assertion. The Gwinnett County Police Department has a long track record of providing professional law enforcement services in our communities. We value the human sanctity of life, and our mission is to provide professional law enforcement services in an unbiased and compassionate manner to all our citizens, and that's what we do.
Did you mention about?
I'm sorry.
As a police officer yourself, to know that, a police officer has been charged with this kind of crime, what sort of feelings do you have on the fact that you have a trusted member of the community who's held in high regard, accused of crime like this?
Well, first of all, this is an unspeakable tragedy. This type of crime at the hand of a law enforcement officer evokes anger, even within the ranks of this agency. To your point, police officers should always be pillars of trust. And I do believe that the overwhelming majority of the hundreds of thousands of law enforcement officers in this community are honorable and decent human beings. It's a shame that Miles Davis was able to get in the ranks of law enforcement, but I am happy with the department's response in terms of bringing him to justice.
Are you able to talk about?
Maria Brand, the mother of Susana Morales, was
Yes,
waiting for many answers. So, as a Hispanic journalist, how we can give some answers to his mother, who is waiting for more details about her daughter's death?
Right. So our criminal investigations, the lead investigator is in direct contact with the Morales family, and we have been in contact with the Morales family since she went missing. So that information has been readily provided as well as updates in this case along the way.
Did you mention?
I'm sorry, sir. Go ahead.
Did you mention about the motive behind this crime, the murder?
I don't want to speak to motive at this time. Again, we're still investigating.
Do you know how or how are you able to determine that Miles Bryant filed a false report for his gun stolen? Couldn't he argue that the person who stole his gun might be responsible for this crime?
So I don't want to speak to Miles Bryant's defense. I can't speculate on that. However, we have a very solid case, and we're very confident.
Do you believe he acted alone?
At this point, there's no information to indicate that anybody else was involved.
Can you tell us about any kind of red flags during, his time as an officer?
Right. So I will have to refer you to the Dorville Police Department for that answer. I do not have that information readily available.
Because he lived so close to Susana, do you believe he might have been watching her for a period of time before this incident happened?
It's entirely possible. I can't say that definitively, but it's possible.
He did accept
I'm
any.
sorry. Go ahead, sir.
When and how the Gwinnett County Police Department make a link between Susana Morales to Miles Bryant?
Is your question, how do we make the link?
Yes.
Or how do we make the link?
Yeah. When and how?
Again, I'll take you back to the work we did at the crime scene. Just a phenomenal job investigating and locating that critical piece of evidence. We located a firearm, as I mentioned before, that Miles had reported stolen. At that point, he became a purchase of interest. So we began watching him and watching his activities. Our investigators were able to uncover information that directly linked Bryant to this crime. Go ahead.
So far, the Hispanic community is very cautious about what the Gwinnett County Police is doing. There are comments, for thousands of comments in social media, not just in Spanish, also in English, about what the Gwinnett County Police is doing and the relationship with the Hispanic community. What is trying to do your office to help to build up this relationship? Because right now it's really, really bad.
Yes.
Well, I think that's your assertion of the relationship. I happen to believe it's good. We work constantly to build relationships with our community, all of our community. As I said before, we place a high value on the sanctity of human life. But it's up to our commanders and our officers in the field to continue to build those relationships. I can tell you that we work hard on all criminal investigations, and I think this arrest speaks to that fact. Go ahead.
What are the protocols between declare missing person or disappeared person or runaway?
Right. So the initial information that we had was that Susanna, and I want to use this word very carefully, had possibly run away. Regardless of that fact, a lot of our initial investigative steps to locate a person are very similar. So again, this case was immediately assigned to an investigator, and they began following up on leads trying to locate Susanna.
So what are the next steps in the case? You mentioned that you're still investigating. So does Miles have an attorney, or where do we go from here?
So again, the criminal investigators continue to work and build their case. We continue to work hand in hand with the district attorney's office. It's a very important part of our process. And then ultimately, this case will play out in the courts. He'll have essentially his day in court.
This one.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify about the apartment complex. You kind of mentioned it both ways. Did he all live and work there as officers?
Yes. So he lived at Sterling Glen apartment complex, but he also worked as, my understanding, as a security officer. So he may have carried out security details on behalf of the management there.
And when he worked there, did he wear his Doorbell uniform?
That I don't know.
I might have missed this, but do you have a location of where this murder might have happened?
I do not. We're still working on it.
This weapon that was found, had he reported it stolen before or after she had gone missing?
So Susanna was reported missing at 9 a.m. on the 27th. I believe Mr. Bryant filed the stolen weapon report, which was a false report of crime, sometime around 11 a.m. on the 27th.
You talked about, the relationship with the community. Obviously, having a police officer killing somebody is not great for that relationship. How do you, keep the public's trust if you have someone wearing the uniform committing a crime like this?
Right. So again, as I said earlier, we work hard to build relationships in the community. When you have an event like this happen, tragic loss of a young, beautiful girl at the hands of a law enforcement officer, there's no doubt that some of that trust is going to be broken. However, the challenge for us and the law enforcement community as a whole is to continue to build those relationships and build those contacts. Anybody else have any other questions?
So you just mentioned trust. Are there going to be new trainings? What are y'all going to do to make sure that this hopefully doesn't happen ever again?
The Gwinnett County Police Department we've done what we needed to do here. We've met our mission. We've solved this crime. And I don't want to just have us reduce that as just, something marginal. That was an exhaustive and extensive investigation. And so I'm really proud of our personnel for putting this case together. In terms of standards, I think the Gwinnett County Police Department has the highest standards for our employees. And I'm sure the Doraville Police Department will likewise address their policies and procedures as well.
Do you believe, right, the gun you found, do you believe you used that to kill her?
As I said earlier, I don't believe that she was shot. That I can tell you.
You don't believe she was shot?
I do not. I don't have evidence or, the medical examiner's finding was that was the case. So we don't believe that was the case.
Do we know the manner of that?
We're still investigating.
You mentioned though that the gun was found at the scene where the body was found. Is that correct?
In close proximity, yes, sir.
There were some speculation that she was dumped there naked. It was true, or was it the condition when she was?
I won't talk about the condition of Susanna's body.
You may have mentioned it already, but was the weapon his service weapon or personal?
It appears to have been a personal weapon.
Did the police?
So what role, if any, there was just a gun that belonged to him that was found near her body,
Correct.
but you don't think that it had anything to do with the death?
We believe that Miles was armed at that site. We believe that at some point he may have simply lost the weapon there.
Is this a handgun or like a rifle?
It's a handgun.
Final questions, anything else?
Any idea how long her body was there? I just, with it being half a mile away from her residence and she was already reported missing, what took so long to find her body if it was only half a mile away from her home?
Well, it was certainly not a half a mile away. It was numerous miles away. We're talking about from Norcross, Georgia to Lawrenceville. Okay. Secondly, Susanna was recovered in the woodlines. So there was a reason why, she wasn't readily discovered.
Is this on the Rowan property? Where this body was?
I'm not familiar, sir.
There were some indication that the police was trying to get dental records from her, from the mom, and then before the body was discovered. The police has any clue at that time that the body could be in the wooden area when the dental records were requested?
That's
Sorry.
procedure,
Sorry,
standard procedure on a missing person.
Okay.
Any chance, or do you know if he used this gun to lure her into any
We do not know.
location?
We do not know.
That 2018 case, was that at Sterling Glen or is that gonna be another apartment complex?
No, it was a family residence.
Is that in Norcross as well?
I think Logan.
And the last question is, was the police capable to find out the body because the police pinned his phone, Miles' phone, and they track his movements?
So you're kind of drawing conclusions?
Yeah, I'm asking.
Yeah, and I would say, I can't answer that. We've investigated multiple angles in this case, including obviously the use of cell phones.
What can you leave your message to our community if we have a missing girl in our home?
I think obviously call the police immediately. Let us get out. Let us begin working that case. I think one of the important things to remember with family members and friends is that if they have key information about the whereabouts of a loved one, then we need those people to come forward and help us during those cases. I think a lot of times folks are reluctant to come forward in missing person cases for a variety of reasons. But that's one of the things that we look for.
Did he have like a patrol car at his apartment, and is it possible he may have used that to kind of gain her trust, to get him to go with him?
So I would be speculating on him attempting to develop any type of trust. He was issued a patrol car that he took home daily. So.
Thank you guys very much for coming. Estamos en el Departamento de Policía en el Condado de Gwinnett. ¿Tienen Díaz Lozano? Estamos en el Departamento de Policía de Prensa Desde. En una conferencia de prensa que alguna actualización sobre la muerte de Susana Morales, diciendo de que es imputado Myers Bryant.
Voy a probar.
Sin embargo, no brindó mayores detalles de cómo la joven de 16 años de edad murió incendiada bajo ventilación. También fue decir que tratando de lograr la confianza con la comunidad hispana de los y también la muerte de otros jóvenes. Hay una sesión para dar mayores detalles de todo lo que hemos preguntado al Departamento de Policía de Gwinnett sobre el caso de Susana.
¿Qué tal? Les saluda Luis Estrada. Estamos finalizando la conferencia de prensa de la policía del condado de Gwinnett. El jefe de la policía acaba de dar una conferencia de prensa especificando que se han actualizado los cargos para Myles Bryant, ex policía de Doraville de 22 años, acusado ya de la muerte oficialmente de Susana Morales, y también se está también presentando un cargo de violación. Se está confirmando que Bryant llevó el cuerpo de Susana Morales a la zona boscosa en Lawrenceville, en esa zona aledaña con el condado de Borough, donde se encontraron los restos de Susana Morales. Realmente la situación, como la policía encuentra el link en el que este ex agente de la policía de Doraville secuestra o se lleva a Susana Morales. No hay cargos de secuestro, eso sí, no se ha hablado de secuestro, pero se está hablando de que llegaron a él porque encontraron el arma de él cerca de los restos de Susana Morales. Entonces es como empiezan a presentar los cargos. El jefe de la policía dice que cree que Susana Morales no pudo haber muerto de un disparo o asesinada a balazos. Eso lo va a establecer el médico forense. Pero lo que sabemos es que en estos momentos los cargos se van ya a actualizar para Myles Bryant en el cargo de homicidio, violación, y también se está presentando o se mantienen los cargos ya expuestos anteriormente, que son el cargo de presentar un informe falso al decir que su arma se había perdido, y también por esconder el cuerpo de Susana Morales. ¿Cómo lo llevó? Esa es la pregunta. ¿En qué momento pudo haber matado a Susana Morales? Eso lo respondió el jefe de la policía de Gwinnett. Susana Morales se perdió el 26, se fue a reportar el 27 a las 9 de la mañana. Ellos creen que fue asesinada antes de las 3 de la mañana del día 27 de julio. Horas después ella fue reportada como desaparecida. Las autoridades de policía del condado de Gwinnett no han dado detalles específicos de cómo encontraron el cuerpo, pero específicamente han dado detalles de lo que lo llevó a creer que Myles es el responsable de este homicidio. A las 5:30 de la tarde vamos a tener más y reacciones sobre esta conferencia de prensa y este caso. Soy Luis Estrada, los esperamos en el noticiero de Noticias Telemundo Georgia, y recuerden seguir